In July 2018, the Republic of Ireland was in the grip of an exceptional heat wave and drought, one that sparked wildfires around the country. One of those fires burned moorland at Braehead in County Wicklow. Firefighters soon brought it under control, but the forgotten World War II artifact that's been exposed by the blaze astonished observers. Braehead is about a 60-minute drive south of Dublin, and it lies just to the south of the seaside town of Bray. The headland overlooks the Irish Sea, facing the west coast of England. Its coastal position made it a significant point during World War II aviation for reasons we'll come to. First, we need to take a quick jog through Irish history. After centuries of conflict between Irish nationalists and British invaders and colonists, in 1901 the Parliaments of Ireland and the United Kingdom both passed bills that unified the whole of the Irish island with Britain. The Irish Parliament was duly abolished. To a background of rumbling rebellion by Irish nationalists, the status quo of the whole of Ireland as part of the United Kingdom continued until the 20th century. Then in 1916 came the dramatic events of Easter Rising, when armed nationalists rose up against the British government. The British crushed the 1916 rebellion, putting 15 of its leaders to death. But in 1921, a negotiated settlement saw Ireland divided in a way that persists to this day. The southern part of the country became the independent state of Ireland, or Eire as it's called in Gaelic. The north became Northern Ireland, firmly part of the United Kingdom. Then the Second World War broke out in 1939. The United Kingdom, of course, was now at war with Nazi Germany. That meant Northern Ireland, part of the UK, was too. But not the state of Ireland. Under the leadership of the Taoiseach Prime Minister Eamon de Valera, Ireland elected to remain neutral. In fact, although the government of Ireland had declared its neutrality, as many as 70,000 of the country's citizens did fight for the British as volunteers against Nazism during the war. But Ireland did not experience the Nazi bombing raids that the UK, including Northern Ireland, suffered during the war. And it was a manifestation of this World War II neutrality that had been exposed by the fierce fire that had swept across the moor on Braehead. The summer of 2018 was an exceptional one in all of Ireland, north as well as south. Ireland found itself in the grip of drought in July 2018. This was an unusual state of affairs indeed, in a land rightly noted for its consistently high levels of rainfall. And these dry conditions meant that householders were forbidden the use of hoses, while wildfires broke out in 6 of the Republic's counties. Once the Wicklow Fire Service had put out the fire at Braehead, which had blazoned through the bone-dry gorse bushes, a helicopter flew over the site. It was a Garda, Irish police chopper, and what they saw as they flew over astonished the crew. Clearly marked out in the scorched hillside below them was the word Eire in enormous letters, easily visible from the air. The first E of the word was rather worn out, but the sign was perfectly legible. What on earth could this writing on the moor's surface mean? And to find an explanation, we need to look back to the Second World War and the fact of Ireland's neutrality. The Irish authorities were anxious that their southern part of the island should not be bombed by aircraft passing over the land as they frequently did. So more than 80 of these large signs were dotted around the Republic's coast during World War II to spell out to any passing airmen that they were flying over a neutral country. As we've seen, Germany deliberately bombed Northern Ireland, targeting the docks of Belfast. The Irish government did not want to see their country bombed in error. The origin of the giant signs dates from the outbreak of the war in 1939. At that point, the Southern Irish authorities established lookout posts at 82 sites around their country's coastline. With numbers from 1 to 82, these sites were each manned by a team of watchmen. At first, tents sheltered the men, but concrete pillboxes replaced them. Each of these had just enough room for a phone and a little fire to keep the men warm. The personnel were tasked with keeping an eye on marine and aerial activity. Then in 1942 and 43, the men staffing these posts, most of whom were locals, were told to build signs that would indicate to passing aircraft that they were flying over strictly neutral territory. And it was one of those signs, number 8 in fact, that appeared after the fire on Braehead. A spokesperson for the Garda Air Support Unit, whose helicopter spotted the sign, told Irish TV station RTV, "The signs themselves are quite common on the west coast, but unusual on the east. The Air Corps helped put out the fire, and then the Garda helicopter, which we fly, noticed the sign emerging from the past." Speaking to Irish news site the journal.ie, the spokesperson elaborated, "The reason it's been spotted is because of the fires on Braehead. They've burnt away all the gorse that was there, leaving this exposed. You can make out the EIRE just above the number 8. It's very faint. The number represented the lookout post it was designated to. When they were in proper use, the signs would have been whitewashed." It was actually the US Air Force that asked the Irish authorities to add the numbers to the signs. These numbers acted as handy aids for American pilots to navigate by when flying across the Atlantic to British air bases. The IR signs were made up of stones and whitewashed. Some were 40 feet by 20. When World War II came to an end, the numbers of these IR signs were either overgrown by vegetation or physically removed. Sometimes farmers took the stones to use as building material. And that makes the sign that's been revealed by the fire at Braehead all the more fascinating.